Keith Callaway Sr., welcome to The Real Build. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Obviously, I had Junior on the show, and now I get the privilege to have Senior on. I'm excited about it because, you kind of, he did a real good job. So you got a lot of competition going into this one here.
Yeah, he's pretty good. We're different though, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you on. And what I always like to ask my guests getting started here is, who is Keith Callaway?
Well, it's interesting. I just wrote that in a bio that I'm writing for a chapter for a book. And who I am is I'm an unabashed follower of Christ. So I'm a believer, and I'm a husband, 39 years plus, and I'm a father of 7, and I've picked up a few others along the way, of people that call me dad, as you can imagine. And then of course a grandfather, which is super fun. And I get to now build legacy. Like it's just something I've been hoping for my whole life is what am I going to do with the rest of my life, right? And how am I going to live after I'm not living? How's that going to look? So it's a bigger picture now. I like it.
Let's go into that bigger picture, because I've known you for, I think, a little less than a year now. I met your son through a group we're a part of called Arte, and obviously we're connected through Brian Hess with Top Contractor School. And I met you at the event too, and you're very powerful, and just meeting you and getting to know you too, and obviously I'm a Christian as well. And having that background and connecting with you in that aspect as well. Let's go into that a little bit. What do you see as your legacy, as your overall, having your kids and your grandkids now? Where are you going? What are you going to leave? I mean, that's a powerful question right there. And I know we're jumping right into this, so why not? Let's get started with that.
Absolutely. Well, I've been, as you could imagine, thinking a lot about this lately as I'm writing down some thoughts for someone else. And so it just so happens I have some ready. Excuse me. I started a journey more than 30 years ago. No, I started the journey before 30 years ago, but I ended up about 30 years ago in a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I was been married 5.5 years. By then, 4 children, and really no signs of stopping. We thought we were going to have at least one more. We ended up with 7. And a business that I started 2 months after I was married. And I'm not really a good businessman. I don't really have the mind for it. I'm good at building relationships. And so that was good back then. You could build that loyalty, customer base, so to speak. And that was good, but I didn't have a real good business mind regarding processes, systems, how to do things. I didn't handle that very well. But so I was on my heels. In every sport, you see a guy on his heels, that means he's in a bad position. And that's the way I term it in my life. I was on my heels. And I was off balance and really ready to fold backwards at any moment. And I realized that when I was about 28 years old, that I was kind of in crisis. Now, I loved everything that was going on. I felt like I was called to everything I was doing, including a lot of ministry at church and being involved, because I had a lot of kids and whatever. And so I needed to find something bigger than myself, some kind of clarity, some kind of wisdom that would feed me each day. And probably the best thing I ever did was I heard a sermon from a guy at our church that talked about how to construct a vow unto God. And it sounds real serious. And it did. It felt very serious to me. And what that would look like. Now, back in 2,000-3,000 years ago, a vow was unto death. A vow was super serious. And so I kind of took that on as a mantra of mine. And I said, okay, so I know that King Solomon was the wisest man in the world, right? The biblical figure, Solomon. His father was King David. I relate to King David in a lot of ways in my life, and have run into his persona within myself in some ways. And then I realized that, well, the Jesus and the apostles and all these people, there was a lot of wisdom there, the great men of faith. And I realized that each of those things were talked about in the Bible. So for me, starting 28 years ago, a little over 28 years ago, I decided that every day for the rest of my life, I would open that book, the Bible, and I would do my best to get one thing out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what that's done is now it's given me some level of wisdom. Of course, that's not to say that I don't have a lot more to learn. Don't we all, right? I have a lot more to learn. But when I see the world's problems coming at us, at me or my family, there's usually something there. There's a grain of thought. There's a seed that can grow into something, because I've been getting wisdom from a greater source for now almost 3 decades. And again, I don't say that to brag. I was in crisis. I needed it. And probably missed around about 100 days or so in the last 30 years, where for whatever reason, I didn't have my Bible next to me. I fell asleep, whatever it was, about 100 days, give or take. So for 30 years, every day, except for those 100, I've taken what I've kind of referred to flippantly as my spiritual vitamin. Like, I had to have it because it made me healthy. And so that's kind of my key to now I feel like perhaps I have now a legacy that I can pass on. When my grandkids talk to me a year or 10 years from now about this crazy world they live in, or they're being bullied or whatever it is, I feel more equipped to handle those things, from not just from my perspective, the world's perspective, but from God's perspective, the one that made us and whose opinion really matters. So there you go.
No, I mean, I love it. I love it. And there's so much power, obviously, in that book too. I mean, we could go on and on about the Bible, and you can literally turn to something, find something if you're down, or if you need some kind of wisdom or some kind of advice. It is there. It's all there. 1,000,000%. And there's always a page that can kind of help you and guide you too. Going into that deeper, what about with business? How have you utilized the Bible with business? How have you, what have you turned to for your company with K&L to help your company grow and get on the path you are, obviously, with God and so on, kind of stemming into this and going into this? Because I love this topic to this. We're already hitting it hard on this show right here. So let's keep growing. I love it.
Well, where that stems, I guess you'd say, if I had a reason, when I wake up and I'm still groggy and I sit up in my bed and I put my feet on the floor and I get ready to take my first step every day, the thing that gives me energy to take that step is that I'm kind of this dad persona. Like, it would not be unusual for me and you, Bill, to stand there. You're taller than me, and I would be looking up at you, and I'd be giving you some advice, right? That would not be unusual for me, right? I'm a little older, got a little distance on me, right? A few miles on the frame, and so I have a lot to say. But more than that, I feel like that almost everything I got something that is possibly important to say. Now, again, I try not to talk too much because I can say things that aren't relevant sometimes. But in business, the thing that energizes me when I put my feet on the floor and I take my first steps every morning around 4:30 in the morning, and I go down and I start making my coffee, what I say to myself is, I want to be the best man that I can be in front of these other men and women. And another layer to that is super important to me is that God made me to be a father. A father of 7 is very unusual. Okay, in today's world. 50 years ago, not as unusual, but today it's unusual. And so that means to some degree it was meant to be. And when God calls you to something like that, you better try to get good at it. And my wife and I would say that overall, we're pretty good at it. You know, we're pretty good at being a mom and a dad. And over half of our guys that are in our company don't have fathers. Some of them never have. And I'm not trying to replace their fathers, but most of them have kids, and they need to know what a father looks like, what a good father looks like. That's what gives me energy. And as I grow up, you know, my boys have a father. And yet, if I can continue to grow and show them what a good father looks like, what a sage, wise man looks like, then they can do it earlier. They can do it better. And so that's one of the things that energizes me is that father role. And as you can imagine, I've dug into what God, our heavenly Father, looks like, both in Scripture, both in the Bible, and then practically what that looks like. How does that work out in day-to-day life? And so in my company, I had a guy tell me about a year ago. He's in his 50s. I'm just about 59, and he's in his 50s. And he calls me dad. And he came up to me about a year ago. I'd come on a job site, and it had been a long string of days when I wasn't able to be there. But I came on a job site, and he said, you know, I wanted to thank you for coming out today, because when you show up, we feel safe.
Wow.
And I had no idea that was something that was going on there. But I can really resonate with that. Like when I'm being touched by the Heavenly Father, when I'm in line with the Heavenly Father, I am safe. Now, I'm not replacing him, you know, like I said, but when I show up, when I'm out there with my guys and I'm eyes on the job, eyes on the people, they know they're good. They know that I'm keeping the difficult things away and then giving them the best possibilities to succeed.
I love that. And that goes into my next thing too. Before we go into, because I know how powerful K&L is with their employees. And I talked to Junior about this too. And I want to go into that a little bit with you as well. But I want to discuss how it all started, your background in construction, and what was your reason getting into, you know, starting K&L and getting into the construction industry. So let's touch on that, and then we'll kind of go into, I got so many topics to talk to you about. So,
well, this one is going to sound far less important. Why did I start K&L? Because I knew I could do better than minimum wage. I quit my job 2 months after I got married, and I just knew I could do better. Some of it was ego, and yet I knew I could do better. And so I just started doing anything for a buck. I had one guy that said, yeah, your company name should be anything for a buck. He worked for me in the first year I was in business. And I did a lot of different things back then. And I just did it because I knew I could do better. And then about 3 years later, well, the year I got married, my in-laws got into paving. And so I had a little side window look at what was going on there. And I noticed that the money they made per hour spent and, you know, these other things was pretty good. And I thought, you know, that looks like a good way to go for me. And I tried it, couldn't pull the capital together to buy a halfway decent truck. I couldn't buy a roller. Anyway, I had to wait about 3 years. And finally I started out paving in 1987, late in 87, with a little slide-in dump bed that went in the back of a pickup truck, and it could lift 2 tons, a borrowed roller and some borrowed hand tools. So that's what I started with in 1987. And the interesting thing about what happened in the years after that is I stayed in paving because the dollars per hour was better than I could make doing framing, sheetrock, the other types of tile laying, the other types of construction that I had done, roofing, any of those other things. I could make more per hour paving than I could doing those other things. And what I noticed early on is, as my kids were growing up, is that I needed those hours to be with my family. Mm. And so I had to prioritize, how can I make enough to supply for my family and still be home every evening and not have to work 12, 14, 16-hour days, which a lot of back 30 some years ago, that's what business owners did, almost every one of them. And so that's what really triggered me to stay in this business and keep going in it, was the dollars per hour. Then when my kids got old enough to be in sports, then I could work 6-hour days if I needed to, and be there to be able to coach, be able to be there for their games, their tournaments, their things that were happening in the midday or early evenings. And so that's how it all worked. Not very spiritual, for sure. It was just what I thought I needed to do to be a good dad, because it would have been easy to work really too much. Mm-hmm. But I knew that with my kids, the numbers of kids that I had to prioritize. I literally had to prioritize it above work, and the dollars per hour is what stimulated that in me to be in this business. So
you remind me a lot of my dad too, because my dad, obviously growing up, blue collar family, I saw my dad work quite a bit. When I was a kid, you don't remember much, but I do remember my dad being there when it mattered. And that was the thing. It was always there for the sporting events and stuff like that. Those were the things I always remembered. I looked up in the stands, there he was. And it was important to me, but he also instilled in me that I needed to work by me seeing his hard work and how much he put into supporting our family and trying to be there and level himself up and grow his business too. I mean, he was doing the same as you back in the 80s, 90s. That's what you did. You worked all the time. I mean, you were running a company. You were out there, you were grinding, and you were building a business to help support your family and so on. And I saw that firsthand. And that's why I think me and Keith Jr. relate quite a bit too, because, talking with him and his background, and I asked him a lot about family and working with you and so on as well. But with your approach too, your family also extends into your team as well, in the K&L crew. And you even have crew members calling you dad, and they get that feeling that you're there, you care for them, because not everybody has a dad. Not everybody grows up with a dad like yourself, or I was blessed to have a dad like I do too, that kind of showed me the way. And that's what you're doing with a lot of these guys in there. I read something, or I heard something on a video that you have, that you said, our team is part of us. When everyone is functioning, we are great. But when we lose one, we want them back, because they were a part of it. They were a piece of the team that made the play work out. So just explain this a little bit, because I went into it with your son a little bit, but obviously having you here too, I want kind of your perspective on it. You started talking about how, you're that father figure to them. Let's go into that a little bit.
Well, when we lose somebody, it does hurt. At the beginning of this calendar year, we did our little kickoff meeting on the first Monday of January, and either that morning or the night before, our two longest tenured guys said they're not coming back, just out of the blue, within 12 hours. And well, that hurts. It hurts a lot of things. It hurts normal, for sure, because that was a normal scenario. We were kind of used to it, and everybody, the entire team, was used to it. Of course, those guys were very experienced, and they understood, and they could teach, and we missed that. And yet we have to realize that we have to let them go. And the next guy up is kind of one of the things that happened at that meeting. With both of our guys quit, the announcement was made. Well, this is what's happened. And guess what? We're gonna fill those roles with some of you guys. And the eyes got big and they looked around the room like, who's gonna do that? And it didn't take 2 weeks. And we had guys stepping up, really doing a great job. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. Like, we've given in those cases, we gave almost 2 decades to those guys, and we included them in our lives, in our home. I paid for one of their weddings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And to have it end like that, it really hurts. And I hope that someday, we won't have them back as employees, but I hope that someday we can rekindle the relationship and be friends, and that we can be, back in a position where we're collaborating at least on life. But between now and then, we have to let them run their path.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it does hurt. But we need to give other guys a chance to step up, to be that great team member. And there are a lot of them out here. There's people that are ready to step up, and we're now in a position where we've, with those guys gone, that we've had other guys step into those roles, and we've even divided, in some cases, those roles up a little bit to make it easier on everybody. And now we're even more efficient. So it is overall, it's a good thing, but it is definitely painful. It's painful.
Well, let's go deeper into your employees and everything, though, too, and touch on that, because obviously your employees are your family, and you guys have such a great program where you do keep. It's rare you do lose employees when you do, and talking to Junior about it, and you have such a great program where you want to keep nurturing employees and teaching them and keeping them in the business and keeping them out of trouble as well.
Yep.
Is another huge part of your business too, which I was very impressed talking to your son about, and how dedicated they are to you guys and delivering such a quality product. So let's go more into that and your family relationship with your employees and how you are that father figure.
Well, a couple of it doesn't sound very mechanical, but for us, it becomes a little bit mechanical. A couple of mechanical things that we do every year is we have them do some kind of goal setting. Mm-hmm. And I will usually sit down with each team member, and we have some new ones now. I was just looking at my list today thinking, well, I got 6 more to do, to sit down and do our 2022 goals with now the new people, to find out what it is they want to achieve. And we always look at it deeper than just their work life, because often the work is tied to their personal, or their personal is really why they're at work. And so we need to dig into that a little bit with them. And so we do goal setting, and we try to make it very measurable, so that, and a check-in in the middle. So sometime mid-year, I'll check in with each of them about whatever it is they've set their goal on, whether it be financial, something with the family, maybe it's a vacation, paying off a bill, these kinds of things. There's just some of the things that they choose, because we wanted something measurable so that they can understand that they can achieve whatever they set their goal on, they can achieve. And I want them to learn that habit while they're here, while they're with me. And then we have a form, you've probably heard of it, called How You Want to Be Coached. And it basically allows them to interact with the process of their employment. And that one is interesting to use because it's not really necessarily an interview. It's kind of a one-off. They fill it out. And then I've decided how we'll use it this year is to make sure that first of all, I want to meet with them and tell them, I read your form, you've been heard, and I'm going to make sure your direct supervisors understand who you are and what triggers you and what excites you, to make sure that if there's something in your future that you're looking forward to, that person can help me see it. So that's the next month or so. I'll be working on that with each person to make sure that they understand that they've been seen and they've been heard. So those are two things. And then I've got a couple other things that I'm planning, but haven't figured out some of the mechanisms for yet. So I don't want to go too deep into them because I'm not sure I'm going to use it in the form that I might say right now. So, but I'm always looking for new stuff, new ways to engage with the people, new ways to engage with them, with drawing a picture in their life of what success looks like to them, and then helping them get there, whatever that is. Sometimes there's a little bit of finances involved, but usually it's something that they can handle. And we usually put it in the context of whatever wage they're making, like how do you get there? And so anyway, it's challenging, but it's super fun. And I was reminded today as I was writing something that the people next to you, if they know that you're working on work, if you're working on yourself, there's a higher level of trust.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that each of the guys out there know that guy over there did goal setting this year and he's got some bigger picture kind of lends itself to a little bit more trust. That he's not just here to make a living. He's not just here for the paycheck, that he's kind of buying in. And that encourages each person to buy in deeper too. So that's some of the really practical things. And then we do some kind of yearly event. The last 2 years, it's been a retreat. Year before last, or in 2021, it was middle of COVID. So we did a retreat locally just with our team. And then this year we did a retreat clear across the country with, we took 27 people on an airplane to across the country, went to National Pavement Expo and did 2 days at a retreat center talking about communication and team building and helping all the men to get to know each other better, so that when they get back here and they're doing a job, especially in difficult times, we need them to know who it is they're working next to. So those things get, as you can imagine, they get tons of traction. Last year, we struggled really big in the middle of the year because of a couple of very difficult projects. And our culture suffered deeply because of these projects. And I took my eye off the ball of, the health of the team. And because of that, we suffered. We really did. And yet, once I realized it, the team realized that we were struggling and we didn't need to, we literally had a couple of team meetings and it was back on track. We were back where we belonged, and it didn't take hardly any time at all, because they know that we're there for them. Like, we invest in them, and this isn't a one-sided thing. So it works.
It's definitely huge what you do, and it's just the retreats and doing these different team building activities and goal setting too. And it's made me realize how important it is. I don't have that big of a team, obviously, being in the new construction side of things on residential, we subcontract a lot out and so on. But the team I do have, putting some more focus in on those things that you're doing is huge. And overall, what you're doing by connecting everybody and bringing them together, you're connecting them, you're making them know each other better, and you're making them be able to kind of communicate better, like they know each other, like as friends and so on. Because when you know somebody, you're going to communicate different with them rather than just meeting a guy off the street randomly. So that's going to help them as far as their quality of work, getting the job done at a better pace. There's so many different things that's going to help with, and help overall do a better job and deliver a better product too, which is huge in what you're doing and keeping them connected as well. So I compliment you on that and what you guys have done, because it's not easy, like you said. It really isn't, and you are being that kind of father figure too, that's overseeing everything and keeping these people kind of in line, but also delivering and over delivering on the product you do. And that's why you guys are one of the number one pavers in your general area too. And it's a phenomenal story too. And commend you on it, like I wanted to say. So for sure. But another thing that you said too, you spoke on integrity, and how important it is. When people think of K&L, you want them to think of integrity. This is what we as a company encourage in our crew as well. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, of course, integrity means, truthful, honest, transparent. But really what it means in today's culture really goes deeper. I think integrity means that we're real. One of the questions you sent over before we started, I really appreciated, was what do you think the customer sees that would kind of stimulate them to hire us? And I think if they'll look at our website, if they'll look deeper at K&L, they'll see the same things you just saw, that we say things on social media and on our website, but then we really try to go back it up with the retreats and with the goal setting but what's just as important to the customers is to seeing our employees talk about the company, talk about us. And if we, on your podcast, you like to have it customer facing. And so what does the customer get out of this? Well, the customer can understand, if they look for it, that K&L is a good choice because the people are the right choice. Like we choose the people, we choose to treat them well. We come to the job site and we're happy, and they're satisfied with the company they work for. And the customer gets a better product because that being one of the reasons that they get a better product.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, it goes back to, like you just said, though, people can go on your social media. They can see how you guys operate. They can see, you got a ton of video and so on of just explaining things and your processes and how you go about things and so on too. But you're actually walking the walk. You're delivering a product. You're delivering a superior product. And I look at it that with myself too. We're not just talking about it. Whenever I do video too, yes, I can say, we're the best builder in town. We do a quality product. We keep job sites clean. We do all these different things. But if people go and I'm showing them a house and the job site isn't clean or something isn't being done that I am preaching on, then that's an issue. And that's a lot of the kind of fluff you see out there too. Is it reality? Are these people actually doing it? And that's why people buy from you. They're going to see your product online. They're going to see what you do. And then they're going to meet with you in person. If you're the same exact person or same exact company in person, more than likely they're going to be satisfied. They're going to be happy, and they're going to keep on buying and referring you as well too. And I see that with you guys as well. So another thing that I wanted to get into too, which I heard you say this, and I wanted to ask you, is you said, I'd like to be known as the guy that can respond well, that can give people things that will make their life easier. Talk about this a little bit.
Years ago, I had a kind of a crazy guy worked for me. His nickname to us was Mad Dog. And his eyes looked two different directions, and he kind of fit the whole persona, right?
Sounds like,
and he was, kind of one of the crazy paving guys. And one day he said, "You know what I love about this job?" And I'm like, "Well, what, Mad Dog? What do you love?" And he said, "I make people's dreams come true." Because we hear a lot when we're out there working for our customer, "I wish I'd have done this 20 years ago. Oh, the wife will come out. Oh, this is going to clean my house up so much." And there's these list of things that we hear over and over. That is, it's kind of some of the hallmarks of why we go do what we do and try to make it beautiful. is because if they see it for what it is, for how it makes their lives better, that matters. And then our crew is pretty happy, pretty cordial, very friendly. And if the customer can get that as part of the experience too, well, how much more has that enhanced the actual product? As they say, not only is my house going to be cleaner, or it's, I wish I'd have done this 20 years ago, but now I have it. And those guys were great, so we do want to make lives better. We want to, and as our company motto that isn't really customer facing, is transforming lives one shovel at a time. There's a piece of that our guys like to take out to the customer. Like, can we just transform their lives just a little bit today by making sure that the job is amazing, number one, but making sure when we leave here that their road is clean, that we haven't left stuff all over the place, that their flower beds are put back the way they were, because we have to walk in those babies, right? While we're doing the work. So let's put those back the way they were. Let's clean up after ourselves and make it better than when we came in every possible way. And our guys, they wear the shirts that say this on them, right? The transforming lives one shovel at a time. We always talk about, well, we're here to shovel crap out of each other's lives, and then and the customer gets the benefit of that. Well, they get to get transformed a little bit themselves.
That's the thing, like you just said there, is just doing at least one thing that is going to make somebody's life better, or just make them happier too, is so huge. And having that perspective in business, and obviously we want our overall experience to be the best experience ever. But if you focus just on making, giving them something to make them happy day in and day out, or just doing that in general in life, it goes so far too. And your business, if you focus even just what you said there too, and then your motto, transforming lives one shovel at a time. I mean, you have that attitude. Your guys have that attitude. They want a clean job. They want things to be left the way they are. It's going to make a huge impact, because people are going to see that and they're going to say, wow, these guys are quality. They are what they say they are. They live by that brand, and they do a better job. I mean, you're not so price driven. You're not so price focused, because a lot of these things, and I've talked about this a million times in the past, the cheapest guy always isn't the best guy, obviously. You get what you pay for in the end too. Usually the cheapest guy is going to leave the mess, and you're going to have a lot more mess after the fact as well, especially in the custom home world. But even in any construction business, any business in general, over delivering, having the higher quality product is going to make a huge impact, and people are going to see that, and you're left with a lot less aggravation in the end.
Yeah. So there's another motto we use a lot, which is what we call our unique. We have the motto, transforming lives one shovel at a time, which is kind of the grand thing that overarches our decision making in our lives. But the thing that's internal that we make decisions on is quick and painless pavement solutions. And we're always, okay, how do we stay quick? How do we stay painless? Because if we're quick and we do a bad job, that's not painless. If we're painless and everybody's happy, but we're not quick, then we're taking a lot of time. And that actually, for some customers, isn't going to be painless. And so, especially on commercial projects, apartment complexes, these kinds of things, they really want us in and out fast, because their lives are ruined. The longer we are there, the more their lives are ruined. And so we concentrate on that. That's probably a weekly conversation somewhere within our production team. I know it's a weekly conversation, is how do we stay quick and painless? And you have to have both. You can't have just one. So that's another customer. It's not customer focused. It's more internal, and yet look at the benefit to the customer.
Yeah.
if we do a good job of that and make good decisions based on that unique thing that we have that others don't have, all the way from our marketing to our sales. If our sales guys are calling the customers within an hour or two when they reach out, and then getting them their bid within a day or two, basically whatever they've told them, and answer the phone and do what you say you're going to do, and we stay quick and painless in all those small areas, it adds up to being, well, we can call ourselves Premier Paving in the area. We can call ourselves that because we're doing the things every day that keep us quick and painless.
Well, let's go into some more benefits though, too, because I saw this and this is important to you. And I saw it on your website as well. As you said, you benefits you offer your clients are accountability, experience, local knowledge, and value. Let's brush on those a little bit too, because that obviously goes into what you were just talking about.
Well, local knowledge is, one issue here is can we work in the rain? Can we pave when it's, when it's showery, when it's raining? And we're talking about that all the time with our customers, with our team, with on social media. And of course there is rain, and then there's Oregon rain, which is more of a drizzle. And of course we can typically work in that. So that's one way. We want to be locally sensitive. We know our way around. We've been here the entire time. I was born and raised in Oregon. I've worked in other states, so I understand mix designs and different things in different states and how they work. And so is Keith Jr. to some degree. And so we kind of keep it relevant from the standpoint of, we understand Oregon, the Northwest. We understand Oregon and Washington. We understand what we're going to get and how to use it. And the fact that we started this company in 1984 and then started paving in 87, that of course lends itself to some confidence without saying very much. And then when the questions are all answered, our sales team is all, I think the youngest is 54 years old. Yeah, and so there's a lot of confidence. I'm not saying we would love to have a young guy. And I think that we're close to hiring one. But these guys lend themselves a lot of confidence that, yeah, we'll get you the right answer. Don't worry. So, and then of course, accountability, the main thing in accountability, and I know, Bill, you know about this, is if you answer your phone, if you just answer your phone or return the phone call, in this world, that is almost enough. That by itself is accountability. And you can not only head off problems, but you can be that can be a differentiator. Because how many of your competitors in your area don't answer their phone? Well, probably quite a few. I don't know, but most of them don't, unless it's important to them for whatever reason. So that's another thing that we want, that we talk about all the time, that we are quick and painless. We answer our phone. Now at 6:00 at night, no, but at 5 we will, or at 8:00 the next morning, we're back on the phone with that person that called during the evening. So communication is accountability, both directions. So.
And I answer the phone thing. I 1,000,000% agree, obviously, how important that is too, because you are right. There's not a lot of people willing to just answer, and the importance of it to people. I mean, being on the general contractor side of things, and if I call a sub and need something and my subcontractor doesn't answer me, it drives me crazy, and I don't get the call back. So I can only imagine me with a client not answering their wants, their needs, and addressing it too. So I've made that a priority within our business, whether it's me, Liz, or my sister, or my brother, or somebody needs to get in contact and just answer these questions and get them taken care of as soon as possible. I'm usually the guy that has to call because, I'm best with talking to people and also the sales end and so on too. But But and I deal with the customers throughout the whole entire process, and it's just, but it's the communication is such a key part to our business. And that's, I was in a sales meeting today with a new client, and I told him, I go, every single thing that crosses our desk is communicated to you. Every single thing. We will not approve anything. We will not let it go through without your approval, us sending it to you, you signing off on it, then it goes back to us, and then we'll send it in. Every single part of the process, the more we can have you there and involved, the better, because then things don't get missed, especially in a high-end custom home. So if you're in town and you say, hey, I'm in town, would you guys want to meet with me on Wednesday? I'd probably say, sure, I'd love to meet with you on Wednesday, because it's been a couple months since we met, and I think you need to see the progress and what is going on so we can discuss it in case we miss something. Obviously, we have those general meetings too, that the main ones, during rough stages and so on. But even during that process of having those meetings when they're just in town randomly, even though you met them a month and a half ago and there might not have been a ton of progress, still something could be missed. Having them there and communicating is such a big element that we've put in, that is so huge in our business. And it goes a long way, especially with customers that are very detail oriented, which we have a lot of them. I'm sure you do too. So, and it's very important. That's in communication is huge, huge. So let's talk about that a little bit more before we kind of wrap this up here. You and I can go on for hours, so I'll bring it back on. But let's talk about communication a little bit and what you guys are doing to communicate better with the client.
What we've put in place in the last year, we were having our sales team do most of the communication, and a little under a year ago, we took someone that was working in our office and moved her over into the production side of things. And she is our scheduler, and she is amazing. Like, find the right person to put in the right seat. And, you've heard that term before, and let them do their magic. Now, and that's what it feels like to most of the customers. It feels like magic. Like when she calls and says, this is how this is going to go. And she describes it to them, and then they feel better. But before we do that, we've also put videos in place that we email to them saying, yes, we got your work order, and and we send a video saying, this is how this works. And that helps. A lot of people don't see it, unfortunately, because it's a great video, right? We hope everybody will see it. But it's basically a voiceover, kind of a chart, kind of a flow chart looking thing that says, this is how we do things at K&L.
That's good.
And so that helps a lot. And then when she calls, roughly 5 days to a week before they're going to do the project, then she is that person point of contact, and that's super important to the customers. And usually she doesn't have to recall, but almost every week there's changes, of course. All about schedule changes. They happen all the time. And very often those schedule changes, they're navigated by her, because she's got the perfect voice for it, perfect attitude for it. And she puts herself in their shoes and says, let me tell you, what happened, or sometimes they'll call and want a schedule change. And so anyway, that's probably the most effective thing we put into place. And then when we get to the other end, when the invoice goes out, there's also a video that goes out with that says, this is how you care for your asphalt. And we hope that the person will watch that. And in the video that goes out before that, it even puts her phone number, like it puts her name in it and everything. If they want to call, then they have her contact information. And then after that, do a video, and there's the contact information for the finance department. It says, this is how you pay your bill, and this is who you need to contact if you have any questions. And so we try to hit it from several different viewpoints, electronic, the person, because not everybody communicates the same. So there's a big issue too.
I like that process of what you're doing. I was actually just starting to brainstorm how I can implement that too, because it saves us a lot of time and explaining things in the process and so on, and where different stages are of construction. So I will be doing a video on that as far as the different stages. So in implementing that's huge.
It seems like it would really help you at 3 or 4 different points in the process.
Oh, big time. I mean, it in general, like you just said too, is that the communication overall is that's the most important thing, because the more people are informed, the more they know the process, and more they know what's going on, the more comfortable they are too. And the more they get comfortable with you as well, and the more that relationship develops. And that's what we've kind of focused on, is building more relationships with our clients to where it's a friendship too. And that's been a big focus with us. I just had dinner on Sunday night with a client we're building a house for. They brought us out to dinner, and then I just got home, and my fiance, does our selection, she was on the phone with a client. We just finished their house last month, and she was sitting on the couch having a normal conversation with her. So that just shows you, those relationships that we've built with them, and that trust that we've built with them, where, you can sit and hang out and just talk to them and have normal conversations. Obviously business will be involved, and we want to make sure everything's okay too, but we can talk about life and so on as well. And that's huge as far as business, and just that all comes with that communication and building that trust, like you were just talking about as well.
Yep.
So I'm going to wrap this up, obviously, because we have been going for a little bit. And like I said, we can go all day. I'm going to have to bring you back on. I might have to bring you and your son on at the same time next time too. I think that'll be fun. Yeah, I think that'll be real fun. I always like that end with personal questions. This is one of my favorite questions here. What about you personally? You're obviously building an amazing company that continues to grow each and every day. What lessons have you learned throughout your journey that we should all apply to our own business or our own lives that'll help us grow?
Oh, I go back to one of the very first things I said since we've been on, is that there's more to business. There's more to life than grinding out a job or grinding out business activities and making dollars at the other end. And we're not in business to do this for free. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. Without profit margins, it's not a business, right? It's just not. It's a hobby. And we don't need 60-hour-a-week hobbies. We don't. And so there needs to be profits in it. We need to understand what it takes to get there and to do that. And customers and clients, they understand that. But we need a bigger purpose. And in many cases, what I would tell a new entrepreneur is figure out what your core purpose is in life, and make sure that it matches the reason you're doing business and even the business you're in to some degree. And if it doesn't, then stay in the job, not the one you hate, but the one that you don't hate, the one that you can live with, and that while you're still figuring it out. And if you're already in business, then enjoy the grind. It's not supposed to be easy, but when you grind, you grow. When you are going through those hard times, those tough times, those times like 2020, when you can probably relate with this. I never worked more hours than I did in 2020. COVID caused all kinds of weird things that created another layer or two of communication.
Yeah.
And we were on the phone constantly. We were trying to figure out resourcing constantly. And how do we handle this issue? Well, we had a bigger purpose by then. And so working the extra hours wasn't a drudgery. It was, well, it's what we had to do because we're part of a team. And so there was some real joy in it. Now it was exhausting, but there was some real joy in it. There still is. So if I were to say, to sum all that up, to say what gives you joy, what energizes you, what is your kind of the buzzword these days, what's your superpower, what do you think you're on the earth to do? It's really good to identify that and see how that ties in with your daily activities. And if you're in business, all the more, because you have the freedom to kind of push into that zone, perhaps more than the guy that's got a 9-to-5 job for someone else.
I don't think, I mean, that's the thing is too, and I love what you said, and I agree 1000% with you on it too. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people are play to that purpose enough. They don't search for that purpose enough too, and try and within whatever they're doing in life too. And I think more people need to do it, because when you work, like, I love what I do. I always joke and say it was a love-hate thing growing up. Obviously, as a kid, being kind of the grunt and the labor for my dad and doing all the work that nobody wanted to do out in the hot Florida sun all the time was no fun. But now I love it, and I am passionate about it, and I do have a purpose behind doing it. And I just want to help people on top of I'm bringing people's dreams to life. I mean, some of these homes that we're building literally were visualized by these people too, since they were little kids. And I mean, we built a home for somebody, a customer, and he said this, when we finished that product, he had a tear in his eye, and he goes, I visualized this for the longest time, and I worked my butt off for this thing. And he goes, I visualized the arch entryway just like this, walking into the big wine room to the right-hand side and just full of wine and all my favorite bottles. And he goes, this is a dream come true. And he goes, I can't believe it. He goes, you guys are amazing. Thank you for everything. And him and I are like great friends to this day. He's a very hardworking guy, started from nothing, entrepreneur guy. And it's just bringing his vision to life is something that I really enjoyed, and that really stuck with me too. And seeing that happen over and over with people and making them happy and throughout the process, and trying to just make it's hard in our business, I guess, in construction in general, to keep people happy all the time. But that's why we're here, is to figure out how we can do that too as contractors, and how we can do it better than the other guy, and that's part of this whole thing. But I love that answer too. I get a great answer out of that question every single time. So you knocked that one out of the park too. So thank you. Most people ask about your past. Let's hear about your future. So where will we see Keith Callaway in the future? Who will you be 10 years from now, 15? Where will you be? Well,
I hope by the end of about a year from now to be an author. I've started a book, so I hope to be officially an author within a year from now.
Nice.
I hope to speak more regularly, because I feel like I have a lot to share. I feel like I have a lot to say.
You do. I highly recommend it.
It bubbles over, so I want to have an outlet for that. So that I haven't done much of that so far, but I have engaged some. I have a conference coming up in November that my wife and I are going to be at very least on a panel about marriage. Nice. I think we probably qualify for that at 39 years, perhaps. And we want to encourage people to stay with it, because we have some stick with it things in our story, so. And within starting next week on my private Facebook and Instagram pages, I'll be starting to put out a video series called what's it called? It's basically a devotional.
Oh, nice.
Yes, get to work devotional is what it's called. And it's going to be somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes, 3 days a week to start with, at least. And it'll just be a little anecdotal idea, have probably most of the time have some scripture. And I'm hoping that people on their way to work, no matter what kind of work they do, will be something that will encourage them. And when they step out of their car or their truck and put their feet on the ground and they walk towards their place of work, that they will have energy to do the work that God has for them to do when they go do their physical, their job. So that's what really lights me up. Is I want people to move into life, into what we call as Christians kingdom work. We're part of this kingdom of God, and I would like people to be lit up about how to be more bold and to step into their work there. So that's what's going to start probably next week.
When you do that devotional, make sure you put it in podcast form, because I will be a subscriber. I've been looking for something like that too. So I'll definitely be a listener.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. We've looked all over for something similar and haven't found anything.
No, there's like nothing. I've been looking. To be honest, I've looked on podcasts, stuff like that. Just something short, easy, to the point, like you're saying, just a quick devotional, something related to work too, to kind of get the day going. I think it's a great idea, and you got a subscriber already right here. So,
all right, sounds good. I appreciate that.
So everybody listening, definitely go check that out too once Keith releases it, for sure. Last question, Keith, what this show is all about. What exactly do people need to look for when choosing a pavement contractor, and why should they choose Keith Callaway and K&L Industries as their go-to pavement contractor of choice?
The word that came to mind quickest, that surfaced to the top, is authenticity. That you're going to get, what you see is what you're going to get, and that is typically going to be very high quality. And if it isn't, you're going to get us still. We're going to be authentic. We're going to own our crap. If there is some, and we're going to stay after it for you. And so that's what the customer can expect each time, is that number one, we're transforming lives, one shovel at a time. Number two, we're quick and painless. And number two, we'll answer our phone after too. So we're going to be authentic the whole way through.
Love it. Love it. I really do appreciate your time today and you coming on the show. This was awesome. And you did put up a good fight with your son. He was good. You were really good too. So I credit you on that one. I do appreciate it. Where can people connect with you if they want to find you, and where can they connect with you?
Keith L. Callaway I think it's on all platforms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, easy enough. Keeping it easy. Yeah. I like it too. And then once that devotional comes out too, definitely let me know, and I'll talk about it and hopefully share it too once you get that going next week, because I'm definitely interested. But this has been awesome. I do appreciate your time. I know you're busy. It's earlier where you're at. It's later where I'm at right now. So you still got work to do, I'm sure.
Yeah, a little bit. No problem.
But thank you all for listening, and you all know the routine. Please share this with all your friends and family. 5-star reviews are only accepted on iTunes, 5 stars only. And write a quick comment, take 2 seconds, say how great the show is, and I will see you all on the next episode.